I would like to take on some arguments mentioned by the Prime Minister earlier. Yes, their side scrutinizes the stance of the church in terms of issues that is of critical importance. But I would like to say that church is a legitimate sector. It has its own interests, it has its own values, it has its own norms. Just like the labor sector, just like the women's groups. It has its own sector, it has its own members that it needs to be represented. That's why they also need to formulate whatever their actions, their programs according to those values. Now, it is a fallacy when they say the church only takes care of its own flock. That's really a shame, because even even the church is doing a lot of activities in order to reach out to non-Catholics. For example, when you talk about Pope Francis, trying to wash the feet of, let's say, for example, a Muslim man. We are reaching out. We are also taking care of we are also taking care of disenfranchised people here. Next, on the issue of RH, we recognize that yes, in a democracy, we cannot be an absolute. They've been trying to tell us that as an overbearing institution, we are promoting absolutism. That is not possible. The church itself is realistic. We understand that there are other sectors fighting for whatever causes that they want to represent, or that they want to be reflected in whatever policies that the state intend to implement. And that's exactly why the RH, despite the church's effort, the RH law incorporates a part of ideas coming from the progressive side, and part of the policies also reflect that of the church. And the thing is, it's not even absolute. And why are you telling us that the church is an absolutist entity? That is false. Now let me forward the main arguments that we wish to declare in this debate. First, the idea when it comes to representation, the idea of pluralism and diversity. Again, the church works with other religious and non-religious entities. We have seen the church being actively participating in in issues that are even conceived as progressive, like working for the poor, enhancing the labor rights of workers that are being deprived of their basic rights in the workplace. And we are trying to level the playing field in democracy, such as promoting fair chance and opportunity, and as much as possible, come up with a public consensus. Now, going back to RH law, that is an example. Although we could not exactly get what we want, because there are differences in terms of idea. In terms of representation, we are promoting interfaith dialogue. That is in order to make sure that even despite the Catholic dominance, that religious minorities are not being deprived of representation. Next, when it comes to participation, now, the worst thing that can happen is when good men do nothing. The church cannot be a passive entity. That's why our Prime Minister said that the church is an institutional activist. We have seen this over time. Back in the Marcos regime, the church has been a strong activist in supporting anti-authoritarian movements. And when it comes to EDSA 1, EDSA 2, the church has given protection to democratic leaders being oppressed by a tyrannic government. How many campus issues have we read in newspapers, have we seen on TV, have we read on the radio, wherein the church plays a very progressive role, actually. Alright, progressive role in terms of issues that is in accordance with religious norms. I'm not saying that's every other issue. Next, accountability. Again, the church cannot be a passive entity. It has been quite a strong critic against the government when it comes to corruption issues. Since Marcos' time, since the time of Fidel Ramos, Eric Estrada, when it comes to scandals involving illegitimate government transactions, the church has been there, trying to make sure that the public will deserve a greater accountability and transparency from the government. Yes.
Are religious institutions the only facets of your society?
I'm not saying, but the thing is, the church is one of the many facets of society. We are not saying that we are the only facets of society. Okay, for that, we're